So it's fascinating, good morning, that we are talking about Acts. And we are just a month into our Sunday school, and we're going through the book of Acts. And it's fascinating to see how the church was birthed. So, welcome. It was in your presence that I knew. The third Sunday of Easter, that is today. And what fun it is to go back and look at what we had just studied in Sunday school in the book of Acts just a couple weeks ago. And the difference is now that we're expanding on this passage to include 1 Peter and I did not include it in our readings, but it also includes the Gospel of Luke. Remembering that the same author, Theophilus, who wrote the book of Luke, also wrote the book of Acts. You know that in the first chapter of Luke and in the first chapter of Acts, it talks about Theophilus. Okay, so here's setting the stage. This was written in, to, and about the Jewish people. But it's more than that. We discussed it this morning in Sunday school, but I want to bring this up because it's important before we can even begin on this text, before we can even begin on this understanding of this lesson, we have to understand that the Jews were the faith system, but they were also the political system. So it wasn't like you could separate, there was no separation of church and state. The church and state were together. And you have to look at it as a messy, tied-up knot. For that reason, it focused on the Sadducees and the Pharisees. And then you ask yourself, okay, who are the Sadducees and who are the Pharisees? So let's talk about that. Let's explain it. And I want you to listen to this because it's important to get to my next point. Well, 2 points down. But you have to understand this to get where I'm going. So, this is part of the map. You have to just understand this important part. This will be the moment that it's all ties together. This will be where we understand how this passage meets us in today's world. Socially, the Sadducees were the elitists. They were the aristocratic group of people. They were born into the system, if you will. They were the ones who set the law above all. They ran the temple. Not the Pharisees. The Sadducees ran the temple. They came up with the rules. They came up with the law. And you needed to follow the law. And they would send all their laws down to the Pharisees. And the Pharisees were the ones who were the they were the ones who were the representatives of the common working people. So you had the chief priests and the high priest as Sadducees. They held the majority of the seats in the Sanhedrin. Let's call it the Senate. Let's call it the House. They held the authority. They had the super majority. They were right, you were wrong. Okay? Now we've got that. The Pharisees were the representative of the common people. They had the respect of the masses. Sadducees' focus was of power inside the temple of Jerusalem. The Pharisees controlled the synagogues. Okay? So, as Sadducees, they were the conservative ones. They did not want to acknowledge a figurative language in the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and when Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel separated from God. They were fearful because they were going to get attacked by the masses. The Sadducees don't understand that. It's figurative. It's symbolic. Because if God created Adam and Eve, where did the daughter-in-laws come from? Where did the village that they were fearful of come from? It's oral. It was not written down in the Torah. So it was very difficult for the Sadducees to focus on that. The Pharisees were different than that. They did, and the Sadducees did not believe in the afterlife. What you get is what you got. And when it's over, you're done. The Pharisees were a bit less conservative. They did believe in the afterlife, and they did understand that there's figurative language in the Old Testament. But both believed that they were to act as if they were God on this planet, socially, politically, and religiously. Okay? I want you to compartmentalize that, put it in a box, and put it right here, because we're going to go back to that in a moment. Okay? Just to give you an easier understanding, the Sadducees lived in the D.C. area of the United States. The Pharisees ran all of the city halls. The Pharisees would complain about what D.C. does, but they were subject to doing what D.C. wanted. Okay, so let's go back to the point of this sermon. It was a beautiful Sunday morning. It was 8:32 in the morning on Sunday morning, May 18th, 1980. It was a day that will change my life forever. The geography that I knew had changed forever. My ice cream cone was gone forever. Nobody could look up north and go, look at that beautiful ice cream cone. It's no longer there. It looked like the perfect snow cone. It wasn't Mount Hood that was pointy. It wasn't Mount Adams that was pointy. It wasn't Mount Rainier that had kind of a rounded but kind of pointy and kind of awkward. It wasn't that at all. It wasn't Bachelor. It wasn't Shasta. It wasn't Jefferson. It was the ice cream cone. And it was gone. And I was devastated. Yeah. The next one is December 7th, 1941, a day that will live in infamy, right? I, previous to a year ago, would watch videos of the Arizona getting that blast where it just blew up. The bomb hit the perfect place and it blew up. I went there last year, and it's not for the faint of heart. It was a very difficult travel. And I thought, my goodness, what a petri trap. It wasn't like you needed to be a master pilot. It was such an easy, there's nowhere for him to go. The Pearl Harbor is very small. It's very small. It's scary how small it is. The next one I want to talk about is that dreadful morning at 6:30. I woke up to an announcement. They were playing religious music on, I think it was K-Love, and they interrupted and they said, we just got word that a plane hit the towers in New York City. They don't know yet what's going on, but please pray. That's all I knew. I woke up and immediately turned on the TV. And then I saw it. Well, I want to say it was 2004. Alaskan Airlines was expanding their landing places, and they went to New York. And my mom and I flew to New York their inaugural year, and it was amazing. We took the Red Bus tour throughout the city of New York. And we got off at City Hall. And we walked across the street to this beautiful church, and then walked a block behind it to what they call the pit. Again, it changed my life forever. I can't help but remember, when I go back to that moment, how heartfelt, deep sympathy, the angst, the desire to know where their loved ones were all posted one after another after another. There were hundreds of them. If you see this person, have them call their family, and here's the number. The desperation, the despair. Now, about all of these things, there is one point that is true. And I could have brought John F. Kennedy into it because that was a tragedy, a tragic day as well. I wasn't alive then. So again, it's oral to me. It was a story given to me. I didn't live through the assassination of the president. So I don't know. What I do know is that there are, quote, conspiracy theories on every single one of these things. I can tell you, Mount St. Helens was a perfect snow cone until it wasn't. I can tell you that that ship, the Arizona, is still underwater. And I can tell you, I don't care how it happened. All I can tell you is the pit is real. I saw it with my own eyes. Something happens when you become present at a location. And this message today is about being in that location. We are talking about, and I did not include the Gospel of Luke in our readings this morning, but it's that conversation that was going on between two men walking from Jerusalem to, I can't even say that name, Emmaus. It's 7 miles, so it's quite a journey. It's not an easy, when we backpack, now we're up in the Wild Mountains, we go 7 to 12 miles. So it's a distance. And when you're walking every step, you understand. And they're walking every step. And here are the two of them. What are they talking about? And then this guy comes up and starts talking to them. What are you talking about? Oh, didn't you hear? Didn't you hear? Everyone in the city of Jerusalem is talking about it. This prophet, they called him Jesus. He did miracles. He healed people. The leaders, they killed him. That's what we're talking about. This guy brought hope. He brought light to darkness. He brought excitement to mundane life. And they killed him. He's dead. Imagine, these two weren't the disciples. And Jesus had already appeared to the women. He had not yet appeared to the disciples. So it's on this journey that they're talking. And then the coolest thing of all. It's the part that we kind of ignore. The breaking of bread. It doesn't say they made a big meal. It says they broke bread and blessed it. And their eyes were opened to see Jesus resurrected. And what did the boys do? They did what any normal human being would do when they saw something as miraculous as this. They ran back to Jerusalem 7 miles that very night to go talk to the disciples. You're not going to believe. You are not going to believe this. We were just walking. We were talking with this guy. We don't know who he was. He didn't really talk to us about who he was. We were just talking about this, and we were in conversation. I invited him in for dinner because it was getting late. And oh my gosh, we broke bread, and it was Jesus. It was Jesus. Their lives were changed. The disciples had not yet seen Jesus. Not yet. But my goodness. First of all, you've got the women coming over and going, we just saw Jesus. It reminds me of that song. I just saw Jesus, and I'll never be the same again. Okay, so now let's look at a couple things. Now that we've got the stage set, that's what's going on. Because that's where we're going. We're MCC Portland. We're MCC. We are headed to communion. It's always where we're going. Doesn't matter where we've been, and it doesn't matter where we leave to. We are always on our journey to communion. That's where it's at. So let's look at a couple things, and now I need you to go back to this box and ask yourself, who was it that had Jesus killed? Who killed Jesus? It was the government leaders, not the commoners. It wasn't the people. It was somebody who was higher up and said, get rid of this now. This is making me uncomfortable. I am in control, and this guy is not keeping control. Move it. Eliminate it. Get rid of it. Sweep it under the rug. When did they know who Jesus was? And it wasn't until they broke bread together. And then it was as if they had always known. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Once Jesus revealed himself, what happened? Many were added daily. So why is the third week of Easter so ironic today? Specifically, why this week? Well, let's take a look at it. So it was the elite. It was the rich ones who would never die for their country, but rather the opposite. They would kill others to save their establishment. Sound familiar?
Yep.
Jesus didn't just go up against the church. He went up against the establishment. He made it clear that the elite were not the leaders of the church anymore. Change was upon us. Change was here. Tell you, you talk to a pretty conservative person, and that's pretty frightening. It's very frightening. The weakest of the world leaders made fun of the Pope this week. Then proclaimed in an AI-generated picture to be more holy than that Pope. Part of his administration quoted from a movie rather than from Scripture, but referenced it to Scripture. An adult human being who is very much a young Catholic, dare to tell the Pope, who he had just transferred his allegiance and membership to the Catholic Church, now telling the leader of that church that that Pope needs to learn theology. Right? I mean, how in the world did that all happen in 1 week? False teachings, and this is the one that really scares me, and it's sad because it's so true. False teaching of American and specifically white American supremacy. If they had their way, they would preach from the pulpit that Jesus of Nazareth was really Jesus of Wichita, Kansas. Jesus was white. He did not have any other color in his skin and wants nothing more than white Kansans to rule and be supreme in this world. I don't know where the song went. Red and yellow, black and white. They are precious in God's sight. What the heck is going on? When did all of this erupt? Was there a point that we jumped off the cliff? What was it? We all know what it was. We just don't want to identify that we know what it was. It was because for the first time in American history, we had elected a black president who did an amazing job, whether you sit on the conservative side or you sit on the liberal side. The guy went to the center of the room and led left of center, and then got shellacked in the election and moved very center, and did not do half of the radical things that the radical people who want to change Jesus' history, even to change his birthplace, says that he did. Well, we as a church for 50 years have been working on this. We are upset. None of us sit in this world comfortably right now. We are desperate to change what is happening. But let's look at what is happening at their end. They are the ones who are desperately trying to change the narrative. They are desperately trying to change the rights of some to allow the supreme people better rights. But you know what? There's a problem. It's a big problem. And what they don't understand is that problem is getting bigger. All they see is we need to control the narrative. We've got to control the message. If we use this fake scripture to encourage our military to go, 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 it will be okay. And it doesn't work that way. It's made to make us feel small and powerless. I get it. The fear of losing power is so great to them that they will say anything, and do whatever it takes to get what they got. But as a pastor whom I followed in the 80s and 90s famously said in his speech, "It's Friday, but Sunday's coming." It is Friday, but Sunday's coming. You can lie and tell stories till you are blue in the face. But when you cause prices to go up and my wage stays the same, I get a pay cut. It's really that simple.
Yes.
I don't care what you tell me. All I tell you is, I filled up my tank for $50 and now it's 63. Something is going on. So, no story will make my bank account grow. So now let's look at what else happened this week. A gentleman, and it was pretty quiet, but a gentleman who was in the cabinet in Hungary knew that it was wrong and did not care, risked his life. He got no media coverage. He got no money. And what did he do? Town to town, city to city, word to word, person to person. And 8 out of 10 people step in and have an election with no support from the government. With all of the United States who screams freedom to the oppressive group, lost so incredibly that this person who had been in office for 16 years conceded. He conceded. He did what the current leader of the Western world, the United States, did not do. This guy conceded. And now people are going to see what had been suppressed. You can change the media. You can tell your story. But sooner or later, maybe it took 6 million people to show up at the No Kings Parade. No, that was the one before. Maybe it took 8 million people to show up at the No Kings Parade, right? No, now they're going to do a new one. 12 million people show up? Probably. When you've had it, you've had it. No matter what you do, you can control everything until you can't. So, let's stop. What does this mean to us today? Because here's where it all comes down. Because where we're headed is right there. The opportunity to commune with God. But how does this scripture meet us today? Well, first of all, we stand united. We are moving ahead, and we understand because it's all about what comes next. What can we learn from this biblical example today? We learn that what is most important of all is that when this all comes down, that we need to love and accept even those people who voted for the government that is in existence today. We don't judge them for making that choice. It was their choice, and bless them for making that choice. It is our journey to say, welcome aboard, and we hold no grudges. We will not blame or shame anybody for what has happened. We will speak Jesus' truth to all equality. And let me talk to you a moment. Take the sermon hat off and talk to you as a board member of this church. I cannot tell you how exciting it is to stand here before you and say there is hope on the horizon.
Yes.
We have a pastoral search team that is working fast and hard, and we have subgroups that are working. If you're not on the pastoral search team, please pray.
Yes.
Please lift us up. Because a lot of decisions are going to be made. And I don't know how soon God is working. But I'll tell you what, as a church, we're ready. We're ready for whatever God has ahead of us. And it's got hope in it. It's got excitement in it.
Yes.
There is change happening on the horizon. We don't know with who. We don't know what they look like. And we don't care. All we know is that God is going to provide.
Yes.
And this is how I'm going to describe it. It's like we have been a church we've been on a boat, okay? And we had engine problems, so we turned off the engine, and the mechanic came and worked on the engine compartment, and we got out the oars and we started rowing. Okay? So now is the time that we're getting ready to take the oar and put it back in the boat, and we're going to do the scariest thing we've ever done in our entire lives. We're going to reach down to that dashboard, and we're going to turn that metal thing called a key, and we're going to turn the switch and see what happens. Not right, wrong, good or bad, but change. We don't know what it was like to actually have lived in the life and times of Jesus. What I can tell you is something happened to these people when they communed with this stranger and they broke bread. It wasn't like it was in the upper room. So something had happened in that upper room that involved more than just the disciples. Because these two gentlemen invited this other person and they broke bread. And Jesus was revealed. Are you ready to meet Jesus? Are you ready and prepared to commune with Jesus?
Yes.
Because that's where we're headed now.
Great.
Amen.